internet. I'm Dr. Paul.
I'm Diet Dr. Paul.
And together we are... Watch this episode and then be prepared for one of the best horror movie experiences you will ever have. Something that is so different, so unusual, so unlike anything I have ever seen in the history. In my 67 years, I have never seen anything like what we just saw. I don't know what exactly we just saw, but I beg you, you will not regret, because it potentially has the ability to be a cult classic.
Mm-hmm. And what is it? It is called, and I want to make sure that I say this correctly, when evil lurks.
We've been calling it where, it's when, right? And when is now.
Cue the beautiful bean footage. Dominated largely by underwhelmingly formulaic drab, the subgenre of horror films known as possession films has been in desperate need of some new lifeblood. It's been over a decade since James Wan brought us The Conjuring, and even longer since the release of Insidious. And despite well-received films like The Wailing in 2016, Hereditary in 2017, and Smile in 2022, quality has been few and far between. Enter When Evil Lurks, an Argentine horror film from writer-director Damien Rugna. Prior to 2022, he was most notably known for his 2017 film Terrified. Debuting at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 13, 2023, and is Rugna's sixth feature-length film. When Evil Lurks presents a highly unique take on demonic possession, with an apocalyptic spin whereby demon hunters, or cleaners, seek out a bloated man about to give birth to an unborn demon called a Rotten. Currently, it has an audience score of 80% on Rotten Tomatoes and a critic score of 98%. On Metacritic, it received a 75, and on IMDb, a 7 out of 10.
Why are we pleading for you to watch this? Not only because it's just a very unusual movie, but I think as soon as you turn it on, you're going to see subtitles and your head's going to explode. Please, please, if you are one of those people say, if I want to read, I'll go to the movies. Well, are you really reading? When's the last time you read a book? I mean, maybe you do. I'm not, no offense here. I'm not trying to cast any shade, but trust me, if you make subtitles, the reason you don't watch it, you are missing an opportunity that is just going to be, you're worse off for it.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where I just remember, like, instantaneously, my jaw is kind of like...
Yeah. So what, let's talk, what do you like about it?
Well, like, the first thing that I noticed was the camera work. In the opening scene with the two brothers in the house at night. And I remember feeling like the cinematography was like a dance. Like the camera would hand off between the brothers and they would walk around the house and then they would like cross paths again. But it's done in a way where you can see the other person in the background and they're not like looking at the other actor for cues. So these are scenes that take a long time to choreograph. And so they require, I think, more trouble than they're worth. But that, to me, was the first indicator that this isn't a genre director. This is not, no offense, this is not Oren Paley in Paranormal Activity. This is just a film director to me. And so that was the first thing that clued me in that this was going to be, at least from a visual perspective, it was going to be really good.
I agree. And to build on that, it is totally unlike anything I have ever seen before. Yes. Essentially, it's a possession film. It's also sort of a zombie apocalypse, although they're not zombies, but it's that whole thing. It sort of it has shades of so many homage, I think, to other films, but I don't think that it's done intentionally.
It doesn't rip things off in a
I
poor
get
way.
John Carpenter's The Thing in this sense of paranoia when you're dealing with people. Is this, I mean, it's just totally unlike anything I've ever seen. It creates, you mentioned John Wick and how John Wick has this whole universe kind of thing. That's what this does. There are rottens, which are demonically possessed individuals or beings or entities, and then there's cleaners, people that try to do this. All of those. There's the 7 rules of how you deal with it. It has this whole universe with it that's just sort of sit there and just watch it. It's like, this is again totally different. It's as if they didn't set out, we're going to make a horror film, we're going to make this. They're just making an incredibly just interesting story that you don't know what's happening. I mean, as you're going through it, you learn more and more, and it's all the way. It's like, wow.
You're along for the ride very much, I felt like. And I say this all the time about not spoon feeding it to you. And they could have started the movie with a screen with some text on it and someone telling us, in a world where there are demons. And yeah, we jump into, we know all this stuff, but the first half of this movie, I'm half awe and half detective, trying to figure out, like, so what is even happening right now? What world are we living in? Is this, first I thought, is this post-apocalyptic? And this is just sort of like what's left over of society as they kind of attempt to cling on to the past? Or is this just a really screwed up situation? And so I think that part is what made this movie interesting, because I already need to go back and watch it again. Very seldom do I feel like I have to go look at what a movie was about when it's over with, but that's the first thing you did, is because you're kind of like, okay, wait a minute. What's happening here? What did I just see? I need to double check this. But that also means that there's going to be tons of rewatchability, which is what you don't get from a lot of horror films.
Right. It's interesting. I think you said, hey, let's watch this. And you picked it. You said it's a Spanish language film kind of thing. That's all I knew. I did look at Rotten Tomatoes just to see the score, and I think it's 99 and 80% is the audience score, which is not unusual. Critics versus audience, but clearly people liked it. But then just in that opening description, I saw the word possession. I'm thinking now, if I wouldn't have seen that, would I even have known that this was possession? Is this what's happening? Is this because of a virus, some biochemical? Is it COVID kind of stuff? What is it, zombies or anything? I mean, they don't explain it at all. I love the horror fan in me, the best part of this are the set pieces. There are things that happen, and it's like on regular basis, like bam, we both did the same thing when it happens, like, oh my, kind of stuff. And then 10 minutes later, another one, oh my, do we see what just happened kind of stuff. I love those sets. It's almost like in Final Destination kind of thing. You just keep waiting. You know they're going to happen, and then they do, and the payoff is just so good.
It's like the deaths in Saw. It's just like these interesting, it's sort of beyond the story at this point. We have a good story. What ways can we torture our characters? And there is some of that. And I'll tell you, I was enjoying it to the point, but the dog scene, that's when I was like, okay, check, yeah, we're good on this one. This is going to be... And I saw that scene, I was just like, this is just really good stuff. You don't know what's happening. I'm not expecting anything. I'm not waiting, okay, this is what's probably going to happen next. And I didn't... Normally, I'm doing that throughout the movie. I turned it off after the point with the dog scene. I said, "Okay, we're good." And just started watching.
Strap yourself in. I love the music on this.
Yes.
I love the acting and the casting of this. One thing I hate about a lot of American films is everybody looks like they just stepped off a modeling magazine.
Yes.
They don't look like real people. Let me tell you something. Everybody in this movie looks like your brother, your uncle, your grandmother, your cousin kind of stuff.
Characters, there's texture to it. It's realistic.
Yeah. And because it's Argentina, you don't see as much. Everything is used and worn and just it really is just it's a sight to behold.
It's a breath of fresh air. If that air was full of dusty demon stench.
Yeah.
But you're right. If they didn't say the word possession in it, and I didn't tell you that when I told you about the movie. I didn't say anything about the premise because I know that probably would have turned you off to it a little bit. But from what I had seen, I also knew there wasn't a traditional possession film. So, and then, you know, I've been wanting to do this for a couple weeks now, so we're behind the curve a little bit, but I'm this is like legitimate top tier level acting. That final shot, that's a tough final shot to get for that length, to not break character. But the lead guy, the main character, you are with him. His brother kind of got the Kristen Stewart single expression thing nailed. He's got that one good look. Don't get typecast, my friend. The bad.
I think for me, it felt a tad long for some
Even only
reason.
at like, what's it, like an hour and 39 minutes? Not
yes,
a long
but
movie
it
at all.
still felt like it was a little long. And I don't know if that is an artifact of, you talked about the subtitles and just following with the subtitles and how this is different than like perhaps Japanese.
The pacing of the
stuff.
subtitles is way different.
So it's tiring, I think, a little bit to follow the subtitles.
Yes.
You don't get a chance to sort of look away from the screen a whole lot.
Very much, very much.
But so it did feel a little long, and it was especially these what I call the set pieces, kind of seeing these, and you'll know what they are when you see them. Like bang, there it is, bang, there. It would be the splash page on a comic book kind of stuff.
Yes.
It was like I kept waiting, get to the next one, get to the next one, and it's also I didn't like that it. You know, we just did the review for Pulse, and you and I both said that that's in the sort of the spirit of 2001 Space Odyssey, where it's brilliant to look at and everything. You know you're watching something important, but you have to sit and ask, what did I just see? What does it mean? You know? The same thing with this. It's like, what does all of this mean? And even at the end, when it was over, we went and we looked at the plot on Wiki, and saying, oh, there's some lack of clarity in terms of some of the things that happened that's pointed out in the wiki description, that now I see it, but it wasn't clear. And I think that might have been an artifact of either the editing or, you know, that whatever's done to show exactly, you know, the clues.
Translation in the text could make just a word be different and us not glean what it means from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's my biggest bone to pick with it too, is it did make it suffer, especially towards the end when the payoffs happen. Is if you don't make all these connections, then that last payoff is a big thing, and to not really get it in the moment is a detriment to the film. Think about if this is session 9, and you didn't get the session 9, and you're like, what the flip did I just watch?
Yeah.
It's not that. There's a lot of good stuff, but if you miss it, I could get how you could be underwhelmed by this movie based on what you were expecting.
Yeah.
And it could be an editing thing, it could be a translation thing, it could be a poor ending to screenwriting. I've often said horror films are going to do and die in the last 20 minutes of the movie. A la Insidious, that's the poster child for a wonderfully classic top-tier horror film that fell flat on its face in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. The second act of this is so much better than, say, once it hit the point that you said with the dog, yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah. What else did or anything else you have a problem with?
No, I think that for horror film, a genre film, it's well-rounded, it's balanced, it's, from a technical standpoint, it has all the check marks that you need, and then, the sound is good, so.
I don't know how I feel about this, what I'm going to say, but and there is a character in the movie who is autistic, a son that's autistic, and I think I started out some of my career early on working. I worked in a school for kids and kids that had developmental delays, and specifically kids that were autistic, and I think sometimes as a culture we fear folks like that, or people that have Downs kind of stuff. I mean, we really, I don't know that we're really kind to people with mental illness, and so my fear is, do people sort of see that character and what happens to him, And is that in any way, not to stigmatize those developmental delays, but in any way did that harm how we would approach that? And I don't know the answer to that question. I may, perhaps if I were a parent of a child with autism, I wonder how I would have reacted to
Well, I think
to that.
horror movies is all about the more real they are, the more scary they can be. And I think that's something that's a legitimate fear is having a kid or a family member with that. How do you deal with that? And so I think the fact that it points that out just goes to show that this movie isn't surface level touching on nothing here. There's some depth to it, and I think there's probably a reason why they use that. I mean, it's a big mechanic of the story, but I don't think it was done in a way that was like negative,
Stereotyping, offensive, anyway like that?
Not at all.
No.
I think it just happened to be a part of the story.
You did mention while we were watching, of course, we did the thing that you don't do in theaters, is you talk. He's a talker and an eater. And how many times did you have to go to the bathroom? I mean, yeah.
Only one time. Only one time.
Okay. How many times did you go get drinks? I digest. You had mentioned during the thing about that child acting, because there are some roles in there that are not as, kids are hard.
No, there's some good kid acting, but
there
there's
is
one scene in it where I remember we're like, oh, that kid can't act, can he? He's supposed to be like sad, and he's just like, and they pan across him real quick to get by him. Like, oh, okay.
Did you get any Children of the Damned vibe from this at all?
I did. What was it? There's another one. Children of the Corn. I get Children of the Corn vibes too from it. Just because it was out in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the good.
The bad.
That's the bad.
Context, theme, and tone often play a larger role in a horror film's success than the subject matter itself. When Evil Lurks, on its face, is just your average tale of possession, but just underneath the surface lies an unblinking story about the human condition and self-preservation. Rugna deftly delivers a film as comfortable amongst Oscar-level projects as it is other genre films. When Evil Lurks is surprising and unique, offering a number of seat-of-the-pants thrills that catch the audience by happy surprise. While some viewers may have minor difficulties in following the story, in part due to subtitles, cultural differences, and perhaps a lack of clarity in the narrative, it is nonetheless a great time and likely to grow a cult status due to its unique spin on possession. The film comes in at an hour and 39 minutes with English subtitles. Both Dr. Paul and Diet Dr. Paul gave it a 9 out of 10.
I don't think we, as a country, a world, as a field, we rate genre films in the same yardstick. To say, I mean, we just saw Napoleon and I gave it a 9. And is this as good as Napoleon?
I liked it better.
As a genre film, it is. I don't know, as just films in general. Is this? I mean, I think Napoleon could wind up with some Oscar nominations, although it's cooled on me a little since we left the theater. So I don't know. Please. I know you hate subtitles. I know that you want Tom Cruise to be in every film, or who's the guy that we haven't made fun of in a long time?
Oh, Will Ferrell? He's not in
this movie could use Will Ferrell, right?
Will Ferrell as the Uriel?
Yes, or dragged under the table by the dog.
Yeah. Not even going to say it. Spoiler free.
Yeah, no, I just play. I know, I see this all the time. We're going to go in a couple of days and go see Godzilla -1. And when we saw Shin Godzilla, people walked out of the theater in the first 5 minutes as soon as they figured out there was subtitles on it. I'm telling you, think about the best movie you've ever seen in your life. And it's your favorite, the one that you go to, you watch over and over again. What if that movie had subtitles and you said, well, I'm not going to watch it? Think how your life would be less not having a chance to do that. So please, please, please give this a chance. We talk about a lot of movies with subtitles in here, but this is the one that I would say, go. Try it.
Yeah, it's not too long. Again, it's an hour and 39 minutes. There's not a ton of talking in parts. There's some very absent scenes, and it's well worth it.
I would get to a group of guys, friends, guys and gals.
2 or 3 people for sure have fun.
And stop and pause it and talk about it because it really is,
Yes.
you know.
You might can help each other.
I don't think it minimizes it to interrupt and stop and pause. Some movies do. 'Cause,
Yeah.
But as usual, our job here, we didn't tell you at the beginning, but we like to we talk about movies just like you do with your friends and your family. We like to turn you on to something new, something different. And I don't know if you've passed by this deal, but trust me, this is a Desert Island Institute of Film golden
stamp of approval.
Yes, it is. To go look after that. There's an address on the screen. If you have ideas, you want to participate in any way, go back and watch our first episode. Watch any of our episodes. Some are short, some are long.
Watch it twice.
Yep. Every Thursday we drop a new episode or money back guarantee. Double your money back guarantee. And our next is going to be the Godzilla -1. I can't wait. And it also has subtitles. So.
Yes, sir. I got to get my reading in for the year.
All right. Subscribe. One of the other things we ask people to do, like us kind of stuff. Our comments are blowing up. Our subscriptions are blowing up. Our views are blowing up. And we thank you from the bottom of our heart. We hope this time is spent well for you. And we're right in the middle of the holidays. Of course, you might be watching this on the 4th of July a year from now. That's okay.
True.
If it is, happy 4th of July.
Happy half Christmas.